Welcome to episode 24 of the Animorphs Read-Along broadcast. Today we are talking about book 21, The Threat, part 2 of a trilogy. One thing I liked about 20 and 21 and 22, because I've already read it, was that the sort of obligatory intro is way toned down. This book picks up pretty much exactly where the last book left off, with the gang falling through the sky in cockroach morph. Fortunately, Rachel and Tobias were stuck outside of the blade ship, and when they see falling cockroaches, they are like, probably the Animorphs, so they grab them and save them. So I think this is the most plot-heavy of the three in the trilogy. This is the book where they kind of deal with all of the stuff going on at the Marriott. And there's like a brief time in the book where the David plot kind of slides to the background and we're just like, okay, this is another Animorphs mission, David's along for the ride, he's one of the gang. But obviously, that was false hope. So David kind of causes problems pretty early on in this book. David is missing and eventually find him in a hotel that he has broken into so that he can have a bed and watch TV. David is feeling pretty sorry for himself. And I mean, once again, David has it rough. He's broken a window at a hotel, and he doesn't really see anything wrong with that. Jake gives him a nice, like, father lecture. You want to go around using your powers in selfish ways? Then we can't have you around. You're just a danger to us, and you're against what we stand for. And David says, are you threatening me? He says, no, just telling you the way it is. We're the only family you have now, David. The only people you can trust. The only people who can help you. We're all you have. Deal with it. I love you, Jake. I feel like every single Jake book, Jake gets a little deeper into this, like, leadership role. He's really become something of a general, and the Animorphs are his soldiers, and he can read them really well. Like, I love when Jake, like, will sit around and, like, analyze everyone's reaction to a situation. The wheels in his head are always spinning. He's constantly worrying about something. So to infiltrate the Marriott, Cassie comes up with a plan to have one person morph Dragonfly while the rest of them morph Fleas. All of this just takes a lot longer than they think it's going to, and everyone almost gets trapped in morph. It's super close call. I mean, like, down to the second. And as Marco starts demorphing, instead of changing back to human, his flea body just grows until it's like the size of a dog, which is a really disgusting image. This is terrifying. No one knows what to do, but Cassie sort of walks him through it, and she's able to slowly, like, walk him out of the morph, and he gets back to human, and he actually cries and hugs her and has a little breakdown because who wants to be trapped as a dog-sized flea? Everyone's kind of in awe of this, and even Ax thinks this is kind of a miracle. That, like, I don't know, like, Cassie somehow, like, used her special morphing gift to help Marco get out. I don't know, but it's a really touching scene and really just a reminder of how serious that 2-hour time limit is. Like, it's one thing to be stuck as a red-tailed hawk, it is another thing entirely to be stuck as a flea. But so basically the Yeerks have this really elaborate plan where during this big banquet with all these world leaders, there is a pillar that is a hologram slash force field, and inside the pillar there's a Yeerk pool. So they're gonna pull the leaders into the pillar, the leader will be getting infested with the Yeerk, everyone's a controller now. When they actually go back to infiltrate the banquet, they have a pretty good plan. But alas, we have gone down the rabbit hole because this was all a trap and a trick, because it's a hologram, inside a hologram, inside a hologram. Visser 3 knew they would be spying around, and he has them surrounded by Hork-Bajir. And when he starts threatening to shoot them, David panics and basically runs over to Visser 3 and is like, I'll do whatever you want, I'll help you. But during all of this, the Animorphs have been figuring out that the Hork-Bajir army is not really there. David attacks Visser 3 and he acts like he was always on their side. Ax, Tobias, and Jake basically wait up all night, and eventually David does leave the barn. Jake sends Tobias on ahead and he and Ax follow, and they end up going to David's old house where they think he might be. And when Jake gets there, he sees a dead redtail on the bed. David is very proudly saying that he has killed Tobias. David gives this really interesting speech when he and Jake are finally having it all out, and he's like, basically whining that he's not one of the popular kids. He feels like they're a clique and he's excluded, and that's why he is deciding to kill them all. Okay, David. Alright, great reason to kill somebody. This book ends with Jake and Tiger Morph and David and Lion Morph having this sort of all-out big cat brawl at the mall. And when the book ends, Jake is bleeding profusely from a neck wound. Even though I think we've had bad feelings about David the entire book, this is really the book where he sort of transforms from, like, annoying new kid to murderous traitor, and it kind of happens seamlessly. Like, we believe it. I think a lot of David's betrayal has to do with the fact that he feels sorry for himself and he feels like such a victim. He doesn't accept that this is his life now, and he doesn't like the other Animorphs on like a personal level. I don't think David's willing to make any sacrifices. I think he has a really fragile ego, and I think he's a coward. And so all of those things make for a really bad Animorph, and he doesn't really seem to have the same like basic moral and ethical values that they do. So those are all my thoughts about book 21, The Threat. The next book will be the last book in the trilogy, number 22, The Solution. If you want to keep up with this read-along, subscribe to this channel or follow me on Twitter. After 22, we will be reading the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, so make a note of that, and I will see you on Thursday.